What is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and today's show is going to be packed. We have, of course, talking about how Putin just grabbed his $100 million yacht out of Germany and hightailed with it. For some reason, he was in much of a hurry. So we'll talk about that and everything going on, including 40 satellites dying into the sky because of a geostorm. And we have more on the way. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Hey, like Christopher Reeves, back broken and I roll up my sleeves. Hey, like Christopher Reeves, only news that I choose. Hey, Marfoogle News, only news that I choose. Hey, Marfoogle News.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Tonight we have a ton to cover in a short amount of time, so I do want to remind you tonight's show is a call-in show. If you are a new caller, you've never called into the show, remember tonight is one. So again, 224400-MARF. You'll want to press option 4 once you get through. Now, if you've never been here, we have a bibliography over on our website with every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we show you here today is going to be backed up over there. That way you have access to everything and you know where this information is coming from. On top of that, over on the website, you will see that it is organized very easily, done by thumbnail. So when you get over there, you'll see 2024 more to come. And then once you click on that, you'll have access to all of our articles and every piece of information that we have. Now, once you start scrolling down, you'll see you can actually follow along on a second device. There is a yellow bar. Once we hit that, that is web-only content. That's the stuff that's only on our website. It's an entire other show in itself. That is because that is the stuff that will get you knocked off, or it's too far to one direction for us to cover and stay neutral. Or as neutral as possible. I have opinions. I'm a human being. On the right side, if you do notice there's boxes over there, all of those boxes are affiliate links. Now, affiliate links, again, help us out. That is a product that I hope if you are already going to buy something along those lines, then if you can, do it through us, and then that way you get a discount in most cases, and then we also get a commission. It's a very simple ecosystem. It's pretty much how streaming works for most nowadays. Again, that is a way to help us. We are independent. We don't have a multi-channel network. We don't even have a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. We have the Mafia. So thank you, everybody. That helps to pay for myself to live and for Dex to live. And again, hopefully more to live eventually. We want to expand. We would love for this to blow up. Again, it's up to you. The algorithms are not going to help us. You have to share this out with your friends and family. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex. What is happening and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
Right into the news, Elon Musk's SpaceX says a geomagnetic storm wiped out 40 of the 49 Starlink satellites it launched into orbit last week. Now, most of you probably didn't even know that there was this issue. Again, there was a solar storm, and it knocked out these Starlinks. Now, that's pretty huge if you consider the fact that they were already saying that they were behind. He said that he wanted to launch something like 3 a week or something like that, or he wanted to speed it up to 3 rockets, or a rocket every 3 weeks. That's what it was. And he told them that they would go bankrupt unless they could get to that speed. And then I think these rockets actually launch up and then release multiple of these, right? And then Dex, again, if you want to chime in there,
it was specifically that as he's changing the Starlink system to these bigger, slightly bigger satellites, it requires a larger payload, and he needed that new big rocket ship that they were building to fulfill the demand that they're going to want to put up this year. So apparently they're bigger, or they require more weight.
So do we know if these 49 were, or the 40 that got knocked down?
I don't think these are that new system yet. I think these are the previous model, because I don't think they went up with that rocket.
Well, one thing to be said about this is obviously these are satellites getting knocked out of the sky with this solar storm. This is something people don't think about. Most Americans and most people around the world don't think about this. In fact, most people take it for granted that we can send a message, it goes up to space, and then it goes to the recipient all the way across the world in literally a second, sometimes less than a second, right? We take every piece of technology we have for granted. It can all go away, and all can go away very fast. Now, a couple of people were messaging me about this. Their thought and their theories, these were just normal people like you and I. They said that they thought it was kind of suspicious that this is all around, of course, the many tests by, of course, Russia and China doing tests of different ways to knock satellites out of the sky, especially since we are in the same time. They're saying that we're possibly at any day now going to be in a huge conflict because Russia is planning to invade Ukraine. We'll talk about the yacht and everything else later. We also have a video up on Marfoogle News about that, but also about everything, the moves that are being made. They're lining up huge drills on all three sides of the Ukraine. All of this is happening at the same time, and their theory was pretty interesting to me. What if this was not related to the solar storm, and it was related to somebody taking them out or something like that? Why would they take out Starlink, though, instead of some of the major communication satellites? Or was that what they are? When Elon launches those, the civilians and public, we probably don't know what's actually being launched on these rockets, right? Those satellites could be used for something else. I said 3 years ago when basically Starlink started that I thought that it was going to be used for more than just internet. And unfortunately, I was right. They ended up announcing just about 6, 7, 8 months ago that they were going to be placing hypersonic speed sensors on some of these Starlinks. I don't know what the percentage was, but at the time they gave an example, like 1 out of every 4 Starlink satellites would have a hypersonic sensor. Their overall goal was to have this grid around the planet. Now, once they have that grid, and you have certain ones making up a grid of hypersonic sensors, if somebody launched a hypersonic missile or any kind of thing, it would be able to tell if it was launched and where it was going and triangulate it. What if they are trying to launch things before this is all finished up? What if they are sabotaging Starlink because they don't want those sensors up? How many of these 49 Starlink satellites were sensors? They have told us that out in the public that these were going to start to contain these sensors. So lots to be said there. And then, of course, also there's the option that this was a genuine, the solar storm that we know happened knocked out several satellites. Did it affect other satellites and they're not saying anything? I always have questions about that. It says Elon Musk SpaceX said it lost up to 40 Starlink satellites that it launched into orbit last week because of a geomagnetic storm. The aerospace company sent 49 Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit on Thursday via a Falcon 9 rocket. About 80% of those satellites were significantly impacted by a geomagnetic storm on Friday. Geomagnetic storms are triggered by disturbances between Earth's magnetic field and charged particles from the sun, known as solar winds, according to the Space Weather Prediction Center. The speed and intensity of the storm caused atmospheric drag to climb to levels of 50% higher than previous launches, SpaceX said in a statement, that made it harder for the satellites to reach their orbital position. So this was affecting millions and millions of dollars worth of stuff. this is another thing that people don't realize. Like, what if this was a bigger storm? What if it was more angled towards us and, of course, Earth? We could lose all communication satellites. We could lose all GPS. We could lose all cell phone communications. This is something that preppers have been preparing for years. Anybody in my audience probably knows a little bit about this, but there are new cycles and people following and scientists switching over to different theories about how to predict this solar weather. And some say that we are in for possibly the worst sun weather we've ever seen and some of the most unpredictable solar storms ever throughout history based on this 400-year, 22-year cycle. So over 400 years, they've tracked different things, and they're looking at a 22-year cycle. And even some people I've talked to said that is now what the White House is leaning into. So again, we can't back up that the White House has changed from the 11-year cycle to the 22-year cycle, but we can confirm that a lot of scientists are now saying it makes more sense than the 11-year cycle. And if it's true, it makes sense a lot of how they put out why they would be able to predict these big events. So if these big events happen again in 2023 through 2025, we could have a very, very incredible set of events knock off. Maybe that is why the previous president ended up starting to do contracts with companies like EMP Shield and put protections in. We don't know. Again, there's a lot of stuff that is not told to the public. We will not be told about this until last minute, like most everything else. Trudy's Venson, thanks Adam and Dex. We appreciate you and are thankful that you are healthy. Much love. Trudy, thank you, and I appreciate that. And thank you for the positive thoughts. And then Alan, thank you for subscribing. Kelly McKinney, Shozun, thank you for subscribing as well. Kenny Cams, thanks for being one of the last ones out, and I hope your channel is doing well. James Fox as well, thank you. Over on DLive, thank you Zippy Moons for popping in early in the show. Says, going to crash. I'll catch the replay. Hope you are feeling better. Thanks everything Dex, Mods, Wives, and Foogles. Thanks Zippy Moons, and I appreciate you taking the time to stop by. And then I Love Jesus Forever, Vicky K, thank you for the diamonds over on DLive. Maui Racing Realtor, thank you for being loyal and sticking around for years now. Lady Green Eyes, same to you. Angela 1609, Bear Lover 92,000, and Chewy Weather. Thank you everybody that has popped in. Now, as far as these satellite goes, this all ties into a lot more because it is, again, we are possibly on the precipice of a whole lot of crazy, crazy weather here. So it says that nuclear fusion heat record, a huge step in the quest for new energy source. Now, it says that the prospect of harnessing the power of the stars has moved a step closer to reality after scientists have set a new record for the amount of energy released in a sustained fusion reaction. Researchers at the Joint European Torus, or the JET, a fusion experiment in Oxfordshire, generated 59 megajoules of heat, equivalent to about 14 kilograms of TNT, during a 5-second burst of fusion, more than doubling the previous records of 21.7 megajoules set in 1997 by the same facility. The feat announced on Wednesday follows more than 2 decades of tests and refinements at the Calhoun Center for Fusion Energy and has been hailed as a, quote, major milestone on the road to fusion becoming a viable and sustainable low-carbon energy source. Because they've been talking about, of course, possibly having this as a clean energy source, as clean as you can get with this, but it says the donut-shaped jet is built to contain plasmas, or highly ionized gases, which are heated to 150 million degrees Celsius, 10 times hotter than the center of the sun. At such extreme temperatures, atomic nuclei can fuse together to form new elements and release vast amounts of energy. The same fusion reactions power the sun, but at a considerably lower temperatures, because stars have gravity to lend a hand. Experiments at JET have focused on whether the fusion is feasible with a with a fuel based on two isotopes of hydrogen known as deuterium and tritium. I think that's it, tritium, which combine to form helium gas. The latest results suggest that it is and provide crucial confirmation for ITER, a larger fusion project being built in the south of France. ITER is scheduled to start burning deuterium-tritium fuel in 2035 and ultimately generate more heat that is needed to keep its plasma at high temperatures. So they're talking about physically opening, and I don't know. I thought was tritium was the tritium the thing that Bob Lazar talked about? What was and this is a good quiz question. What was that element? What was the element that Bob Lazar talked about that ended up becoming, that they ended up saying was kind of true or something? Does anybody know that? Put it in the chat. I'd love to see that. I know it was different. I don't think it was tritium or tritium. Do you guys remember what Bob Lazar said? It was element 14 or something, but it had a name. It was like selenium or something. Razar says Large Hadron Collider is scary. Yeah, so everybody knows about CERN, but supposedly they're working on bigger ones that, of course, some are saying don't do. This could end our planet. It could create a black hole or something and suck in the entire planet. It's actually taken seriously by some scientists. Element 115 or element 114, somebody said, trillium. Didn't they find out that trillium was actually real or somehow real or something that was very similar? Everybody has varying. Mr. B, that is not it. Unobtainium. Kilroy was here. That's funny. I don't know if you noticed this, but in my thumbnail, you'll notice something right there on the planet. Probably can't see it, but I think you'll like that. All right, and then so what do you think about this? Do you like that they're even messing around with this stuff? Do you think that this is the future? Obviously, it's more signs that we are going to a different they're going to different power avenues. My personal thought is I think that most people don't realize they're about to reset everything. We are now very dependent on oil and gas and, of course, on fossil fuels. And now the people that are in charge of the planet are all meeting up saying, we're going to switch all of this. Well, what happens to the U.S. dollar, which is based on this oil, the petrodollar? Everything has to change, and things are going to be pulled out from under us. Now, on top of that, we, of course, have had the last 2 years, which some would say was very scandalous. In fact, so scandalous that most people are, pretty much just done believing anything they hear. What do you think? Put it in the comments down below. And then if you want to call in, remember the number is scrolling down below. That is 2244-00-MARF. Again, that's 2244-00-6273. And if you are a first-time caller, you're highly encouraged to call in. And then it says the U.S. approves a $100 million missile defense sale to Taiwan. Now, this is first of all, we've talked about Taiwan, and no one else is for some reason. Everyone is focused on Ukraine and on Russia. But of course, Taiwan just recently did everything. They just checked all the boxes so they could legally put mines out in the water. They are doing several things. They're practicing landing their big cargo jets and their jets on highways, their regular highways, because they feel like they are about to be invaded. China and Russia say that they are no limits partners. Now, when you think of Russia taking Ukraine, I have always considered it at the same time, if they both wanted to succeed in their missions and they are truly no limits partners, then they would most likely want to take both islands at the same time, especially with a very questionable president in our office right now, who is potentially, who knows, some say even on the payroll, or weak or won't do anything. Not to mention, even if he does do something, if both of them take these islands at the same time, or these places, Russia take Ukraine and, of course, China take Taiwan, it would split our military, which they already are. Our military is about, I don't know what percentage, but we have at least 2 or 3 carrier strike groups over in the South China Sea. And, of course, we have carrier strike groups and a lot of our ships over in the Mediterranean and over by Ukraine. If you were going to take both at the same time, it would just be logical, especially since they say they are, again, some of the closest partners they've been the closest right now than any other time in history. Russia, Putin just met up with Xi right after meeting with, of course, Macron, and he met up with the leader of Cuba. U.S. just met with the German chancellor. Again, kind of funny, JB met with German chancellor, and then now Russia just pulled his $100 million super yacht out of there before the repairs were even finished that they were supposed to do. That definitely says something. Again, once we get to that story, you'll totally understand. But again, if you are repairing a $100 million ship, and in fact, part of it was actual additions to it, they were adding another balcony, they stopped mid-work and pulled that $100 million yacht out, and they are taking it back, again, out of Germany. What does that say to you? Again, Germany is part of NATO, and it is part of, or it's one of our allies. So very weird stuff is going on. It says the United States has approved the possible sale to Taiwan of military equipment and services, including engineering services to support the Patriot missile defense system for an estimated cost of $100 million, according to a statement released Monday by the Defense Department. The Taipei Economic and Cultural Representative Office in the United States had requested to buy the equipment and services to support its participation in the International Engineering Services Program and Field Surveillance Program for 5 years, which are designed to, quote, sustain, maintain, and improve their defense system. And remember, they just placed mines off in the water. Now they're saying they're going to pay $100 million for our Patriot defense system. So obviously, when do you think China would invade? Before or after they get that Patriot system? Probably before. One thing I don't remember if this had was the time frame that they had and how fast they were going to get to them, this system. But it is definitely a pretty big sign that something big is about to go down. It says, and then the bridge to Canada in Detroit closes as Canadian protesters block the trade route. It says that an ongoing protest in Canada over 19V mandates spilled over into Detroit Monday evening via the Ambassador Bridge. The protesters blocked traffic on the largest international suspension bridge and prevented motorists from passing with signs calling for an end to the dates. Again, pop that in there. It says the bridge to Canada in Detroit has been closed, according to the Michigan Department of Transportation, and motorists should use the tunnel rather than the bridge, or head to the Blue Water Bridge that goes from Port Huron to Sarnia, Ontario. In Canada, the Huron Church Road exit said was temporarily interrupted by the demonstration, and the Windsor Police Department asked residents and travelers to avoid the area. Greg Ward, president of Detroit Windsor Truck Ferry, has been in the border crossing business for 30 years, and he said that the bridge closing is unprecedented. So there's a lot of unprecedented things happening right now. Again, there are a lot of things over on our website, marfooglenews.com, that you should go see, especially regarding the truckers. We have had so many big things happen, and most people's attention is turned onto that. I would highly recommend that everybody basically diversify their attention and remember that when anything big is going on, there's most likely going to be operations being done at the same time. There's going to be, CIA things. There's going to be FBI things. There's going to be propaganda placed all over the place. As far as with what's going on in Canada, I think that obviously something may happen in the very close future that may affect it. The reason I think that is because of everything that's going down and the warnings they've been giving us. Also, the U.S. Homeland Security has actually been giving us warnings about our own grid, saying that there's specific and credible threats against our power grid from certain groups. In fact, the same groups that some would consider the same folks that would show up at that trucker event. So I would highly recommend diversifying, paying attention to everything. We try to dig up everything so you don't have to. But again, we go around the world. We go to India news, Australian news, European news, even African news at some points to make sure that we're getting a most round picture of what's going on. Right now, I think that people need to actually pay attention to everything. And it really is, normally I would say just kind of look at the highlights. Right now, people need to seriously be looking into what is happening. Again, the number is 2244000MARF. About 3,300 are tuned in over on YouTube. Thank you over on DLive. Really, really Lady Green Eyes, Chewy Weather, and then the Pillars and the V-Chain Gang. Thank you guys for popping in. In a second here, we're going to pop over to a caller. But first, again, thank you everybody for checking out the Energy solar generator here. Now, if you guys did not know, this entire show is being run by a Flex 1500. In fact, I have all my lights, my show, everything, including my router, running off of one Energy Flex 1500. About 2 power bars and about, I would say, two power bars of like 9 different things. So this is pretty amazing. This cool part about this is that it is modular. This is a solar generator that essentially not only is it portable, but it can end up being a professional use as well. You can stack the batteries. They're all modular. You can end up the hours that are seen here as far as how much and how long it can power, that can actually be changed. If you can add batteries, say if you want to get one battery to start and then later on get a second and then later on get a third, you can do so. They also have gear and accessories that you can actually plug into these and put in the middle or on top or on bottom that change its uses. In fact, they have low voltage appliances that you can plug right in. Mine, again, I ended up getting the chain lights. They're kind of like huge, super bright LED lights that chain together and can light an entire campsite. And I think it was using about 6 watts or something. I mean, it was something, I want to say it was 9 watts, or they were 6 watts each. At the very least, it was not even equivalent of one regular light bulb. And it was 3 light bulbs chained together that were able to light, probably 150-foot area. It was really incredible. So again, that is available over on marfooglenews.com/energy. These were the most sought after last year, and going into this year, they are still the most sought after solar generator. The best part about solar generators is that they are completely silent, or at least, the Flex 1500 is virtually, I cannot hear it. In fact, I would have to put my ear on top of it to hear it. Again, this is something that is very important if you are a prepper, and if anything does go down, you do not want your neighbors or anyone hearing that you have a generator. That's the first thing that will give off any generator owner. And again, if people are desperate, you definitely don't want to stick out. Again, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. That will help out our channel here. And again, that is a very, very amazing website right there. Make sure to go over and check out all of their accessories. marfooglenews.com/energy. Thank you guys for supporting us in advance. All right, and then again, you don't need gas. That's another good part about that. All right, and then Dex, before we talk about NK building an ICBM base, we were going to go over to the phones. It looks like you are getting Mr. Reed on, a first-time caller. And the first-time caller is curious about something. So we'll go over to Mr. Reed to check out what he's curious about from local here in Washington. And then, Mr. Reed, you can pop on in.
And Adam, I'm trying to get him online. 1 second.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. And then in the meantime here, let's see here. Again, thank you, Kenny Cams, for your support there. Simply Pony, thanks for popping in multiple times. And then Rochelle Schoening, Thank you so much. I appreciate your support tonight. Natasha French, thank you for the very cute super sticker there. And then Dawn Bali, appreciate you. Thank you. I believe I saw you last show as well. And then Trudy Svensson, again, thank you. And Linda G, I'm sorry I missed you. It says praying for you and your health, Adam. And Diane Moses, hope you find relief soon. Thank you, guys.
And Adam, Mr. Reed is live.
All right, Mr. Reed, you are live on Marfoogle News. What is going on?
Hey, Adam, how you doing tonight?
I am doing good. So you're curious about the satellites, is that right?
Yeah, just, what you were talking about the atmospheric drag being increased by 50%. And I know that you were reading that. Those aren't your words, but I heard that earlier today on the news, and I'm not buying it. Do you think it's possible that these satellites were either involved in some type of a test or something to interfere with the subsonic missiles that China has, or could they have just been sabotaged?
Well, again, I didn't. That's so funny. I know who you are, Mr. Reed. This is actually that's pretty awesome. I pleasantly surprised. This is my friend, Mr. Reed. Again, so first of all, yeah, this is weird. So, did you watch the episode when we talked about the claws that grab the satellites and then the different tests? So Russia had those tests, and then of course China had that. I think both of them had a version of these satellites that had a claw that could grab and crush satellites. I just think it's really weird timing considering they both tested those, don't you?
Yes, and then it's interesting to me. I think if I were trying to bring down some sort of a subsonic missile or rocket, if you were to sprinkle dust in the atmosphere, that's going to create a lot of atmospheric drag, which would probably help destroy that subsonic hyper velocity rocket. But I think it would be a good way to test it would be using some satellites.
Well, as far as the 40 out of 49, that's a huge percentage. I'm surprised. So I guess when those went down, why was it just those instead of, we didn't hear of anything else going down, which again, I believe we have more kind of solar activity on the way, if it hasn't already hit today. But I don't know. By the way, hi to Mrs. Reed. Hi, Laura. How are you doing? And then thank you guys. Thank you for calling in tonight. So there was a couple other things that we talked about earlier. I thought you had some pretty interesting theories on stuff. What else is, as far as like what's going on right now? Do you think that we're close to a conflict right now?
I think that we are very, very extremely close to a conflict. I think we are living in the book of Revelations right now.
So also, you probably know, and this is somebody who I talked to as far as, have you noticed that the stores, when we talked about how things were going to hit a major snag up as far as stores not getting stuff and the mother of all supply chain hits, as somebody who...
It's getting worse.
Go ahead.
It's getting worse, and it's across the whole store. Groceries, food, dog food, clothing, toys. Target had toys that were 2.5, 3 years old in there.
Yeah, and did I not tell you that was going to happen? And then all of a sudden
You did.
So, and the thing is they had chartered. So if you noticed, so here's the crazy part. They just put out articles saying that basically that Hasbro and all of these companies that kept the shelves completely packed for this holiday See, the whole time that China thing was going down and there was all of these containers stacked up in our ports, everybody was freaking out, but they were like, well, wait, Target, Walmart, and all these places have full shelves. We don't feel like anything's missing, right? Well, at that same time, they also announced, oh, well, we actually chartered our own boats. And then you look at some simple public information and you go, wait, they chartered this back when we were all locked down. So they actually saw ahead to everything that was being forced and saw that all of these things were going to happen, and they chartered their own boats. So instead of going through these main ports and having stuff come from China, they had chartered boats that had old stuff. Now, Dave, you were one of the people that told me there were 2-year-old toys that should be retired and not even being sold anymore, and those were popping up at Targets all over the place. Why? Why do you?
Because they knew about it ahead of time.
Yeah, why do you think that there's old stuff in the stores right now? Well, now they just put out an article saying that they are going to raise their prices and that they had everything stocked up for the holidays, but now we're actually going to see it. Now, when they announced the O variant, all of a sudden, China was already like totally minimized. They were down to 2%. 2 out of every 100 flights was going out. Once the O announcement happened, they locked down everything. Now, that could be an excuse, but they really did. And now we haven't even seen the results of this yet. So they were already locked down. And when they announced the O, they shut down everything, flights, everything. And people are still not seeing this. We haven't even seen the results of that because it usually takes a month to 2 months as far as these ships with these cargo containers coming from China. Their zero COVID policy is about to hit hard. So we're about to see the mother of all supply ship drops.
Yes. And people say, well, what about, the dog food that's manufactured here in the U.S.? Well, a lot of the ingredients, the cans, the labels, I'm sure a lot of that is made over there also.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you remember you and I had talked about that possibly, with this new Space Force, that then you've mentioned it several times that there might be a little more than we think going on up above our heads. Possibly that could have had something to do with losing these 40 satellites. But yeah. I don't know. I'm not an expert.
Well, hey, Mr. Reed, thank you for calling in. And I appreciate you, man.
Thank you for taking my call.
Is there anything else you want to say before you go?
Just really appreciate you and Dex so much, and hope everything gets better.
All right. Well, I'm praying for you and praying for Laura and for, I know you guys got your own issues as well. So thank you so much. And God bless you, and I'll talk to you later, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That's funny. I didn't put 2 and 2 together there. All right. And then speaking of NK, well, I guess now we are. Rochelle Schoening, thank you so much for your support there. I appreciate that. NK builds an ICBM base near China as fears of new test loom. Now, remember, I think it was 7 or 8 times. It was at least 7 times in January they tested nukes or ICBMs. They launched some towards Japan, some here, some there. It was a lot. Now, Dex, if you are there, if you can, when you are ready, pop in. But I was going to talk about as far as NK and everything that's going on there. It's very, very closely tied with China. Of course, NK, they talked about the possibility of a FOBS, or a fractional orbital bombardment system. The China task force then actually talked about China doing the FOBS, and then China tested one. They tested a hypersonic vehicle that launched a hypersonic object, and it hit within 20 miles of its target. And the worst part was the U.S. didn't know until after it happened. If that was an EMP, it would have already hit us, and we would have already been down. So there's a lot of big stuff going on between China, Russia, the U.S., up above our heads. Like Mr. Reed said, A lot of this is up above, and it's very, very, very obvious that something more is going on.
Well, and Adam, you're spot on. And the other thing is, that we have to take into consideration is how advanced NK seems to be getting very quickly, right? They've launched, their last long range launch went higher than the ISS, right? It was way up into the atmosphere. So they have done quite a bit in a short amount of time. And now I don't think that, I'm not going to sit there and think that they have the biggest and best R&D department. I imagine they're getting a lot of their stuff from China and or from Russia and information on how to build this. But, they have moved really quickly, especially compared to other countries like the I country, right? Which has been trying to progress, but not getting there.
Well, and they paid so much more. I mean, there's still this idea that Russia's this backwoods, just run down military that they can't do anything, and that China is, knockoff quality military as well. It is not. Now they're more advanced than us in AI and in certain technologies. That's according to our own Pentagon. Pentagon is succeeding. Even the chief software officer who had a position made for him because of his specialty in that field resigned and stated that China was ahead of us, and basically said in that field of AI and in that special technology related to military AI and this tech, he said that once you're ahead, you stay ahead because of how it works. So he said that he resigned, and he said that this is bad, that China is ahead of us in that. How that happened? Well, I don't know. Maybe a bunch of money went into somebody's back pocket, 2 or 3 presidents ago, and maybe they started reducing our military and reducing our budgets, and I don't know, maybe sabotaging ourselves. I don't know. But again, it looks like they are now ahead of us in certain technologies. And then as far as military size, it was like, well, we have the biggest, baddest Navy in the world, which a Navy is a big part of how to defend ourselves, considering they're oceans away. Oh, but then they made the largest Navy in the world. Now China, out of nowhere, surpassed us as the largest Navy in the world. And then guess what? I said 2 years ago, hey, I think they're going to try to be the largest Air Force in the world. Guess what? We heard stories, and now there's confirmation through satellite photos and others that they are building the largest Air Force in the world, and it's happening so fast, it's stunning. Not to mention their force. Of course, they have 1.4 billion people in their country. And now possibly we have inklings that India is actually possibly going to double cross the U.S. or take whatever deal works best for them. Somebody commented the other night and said, oh no, India and China absolutely hate each other. I would actually highly look into that, because India and China have been financial partners and an official partner since 2017 in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which contains the Shanghai Five, as they call it, which was China, Russia, Pakistan, Iran, and, of course, India. Those 5 countries were close financial partners, and they're bouncing off each other. At the same time, they didn't have violence for 40 years. All of a sudden, in the Himalayan mountains, they started getting in fistfights, throwing each other off. They had military on the Himalayan border. The border that doesn't exist. Again, they're still arguing who owns it, India or China, and they've pushed it back over 40 years. All of a sudden, both countries agreed to remove all military from the borders. That's weird. Oh, and then India started drilling with Russia, which Russia is no limits partners with China. Then you have India, 1.4 billion people, and China, 1.4 billion. You have a massive force there, especially if they did anything close to a draft. Think about if China did the same thing we did with the draft. Think about that. Any man, woman that was physically able to go to conflict, we have under 400 million here in the U.S. I mean, I think us and some of our allies we don't even have that many we don't have that much manpower. And what percentage is actually people that can actually fight? And I say people because I mean they would. By the way, I say people. Our U.S. our U.S. politicians added something really quietly into this whole CV thing. Dex, do you remember what they added in as far as regarding women and regarding the draft? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was going in. I thought the defense bill budget was to require that the draft be extended to women, and I don't know if that ever made it through, but I'd have to go check. But yeah, they were pushing for it really hard.
Now, why would they be pushing to add? And by the way, it was not about a whole like sexist thing. Nobody wants a draft in the first place. Why were they even talking about the draft? That's a big question right there. Greg Davis says asteroids and comets are on their way by the end of the decade, and the world powers are fighting for safe zones and territories. WW3 is coming. Greg Davis, your comment creeps me out because in the back of my head, you guys know my thoughts on that. I feel like there's so many weird things, especially with the movie Don't Look Up, like it's just a blatant like kind of joke right in our face. Like really freaky as far as how many real things kind of line up with that movie. Remember Adam McKay, the guy who made Don't Look Up, if you've seen the movie, then you know. It said based on real events, and then said, quote, that hasn't happened yet. You can go through the last 5 years of articles and you can pick out things, and it's just unbelievable how much of that is almost, I mean, like just real, just out of order. I mean, it is freaky. Either way, pretty crazy stuff. Dex?
Well, Adam, going back to NK for just a second, and what's happening with this base they're building, or this ICBM location, they're choosing to put it like right against the border of China, right? And there's a couple reasons I think that they're doing that. One is it makes it easy for them to get help, assistance, and other, intelligent information in there for them if they need it from their partner, right? But the other is to think about a defensive position, right? Like if we were to go do a preemptive strike, which we've talked about doing in NK before, to take out facilities and things like that, it's right on the edge. So how dangerous is it for us to potentially miss and then stir up something with China, right? And then the other thing to think about is while they haven't done much in the month of February, and they said they weren't, a lot of people are saying they're signaling that to China and to the Olympics. But there's a couple of things that we need to think about from a date perspective. The Chinese New Year started on February 1st. The Olympics started on the 4th. I think the Chinese New Year celebration ends on the 16th. It's a really big celebration in the sense that everyone doesn't work, nothing happens, so productivity stops, and they all celebrate from the 1st to the 16th. And of course, now with the Olympics, I want to say it's the 4th through the 20th, around that time period is when it'll end. So those are sort of these lulls in what's happening in China around both the celebration and this, obviously, the Olympics that are going on there, which could be, a time period in which we won't see any activity, but I would expect to see it right after, right?
Yeah, and what if we're looking at like they're giving everybody their family time? Just remember, and these are actual things that have been put out there. Xi told his military to get ready for WW3. Said to get ready for conflict. He told them the global mouthpiece, the Global Times, and some of their others, the Shenzhen and the People's Daily, all basically said these pieces that were approved by the government. One, they put out a piece on August 29th of 2021, just a few months ago. They said that the U.S. was actually responsible for what's happening right now, which if you've seen their zero C policy, it's beyond China draconian. I mean, they were putting huge barbed wire that you would expect to see on a Normandy beach on D-Day in the hallways of apartment buildings to keep people in. And we know from regular people that are even streamers that are on D-Live and other places that actually is happening. They were bolting people in. They're doing all this crazy stuff in certain areas, right? Because it's a zero policy. They don't want any of it. Zero tolerance, right? On top of that, there was one little inkling of it in a school. They took all the school children away. Think about if you were here, if that was your kids. How are you going to feel? And then how are you going to feel even if it happens somewhere else? If, say, a whole class in Alabama got taken and put in some sort of, basically a camp, how would you feel? I bet people all around the country would be hating the country that was responsible for that. On August 29th, they said that it was our fault, that it was created in a certain fort, and that it was all for it. Now, whether that's true or not, who cares? At this point, they just told the entire Chinese people that we're the enemy. And then on top of that, look at their actions. So things are moving extremely fast. And what if they're having, and then they said, spend time with your family, write letters to your family. The same Global Times and the same pieces basically told their soldiers to write their goodbyes or to say their goodbyes to family. Dex, do you remember that, or am I just totally misremembering?
Oh no, you're totally you're spot on. And by the way, Putin just came out and told everybody on TV, that he was warning that nuclear conflict would break out if Ukraine joins NATO. Period. And this was right after he spoke to Macron.
And by the way,
matter of fact, if you want a link to that, I put it in the screener.
And by the way, Dex, not to forget here. Macron fell through. The whole thing with Macron fell through. People.
Oh yeah, they made a mockery out of him. I mean, they really did. He came out like, "Oh yeah, he's not doing anything," and they're like, "No." They blasted him one. They being the Russians.
And by the way, like people were messaging me saying, "Oh no, I think that the French are going to go in and this is going to de-escalate." I said I would wait. I'm holding my breath here. And of course, it turns out that it all fell through. What have we heard? The messaging is very clear. Every single talk that has happened has fell through so far, because we are not given into that. They are saying that they are going to fast track them into NATO, and now Vladimir is saying that a nuclear war will break out if Ukraine joins NATO. So. Everybody's hoping for this to all be propaganda and for this all to go away and a miracle to happen, and I hope it does. But if it doesn't, I am thinking of it as like, hey, I'm in Seattle in a coastal city. I'm going to take it seriously enough to actually have a plan. I'm not going to go off and hide in a hole in the middle of the country. I'm also going to get spiritually ready, and if something does happen, understand that you got to get right with the people that you got to get right with. Whatever you choose to as your higher power, I would say then a lot of the fear goes away. One, if you're prepared, think about it. Also, it's kind of accepting that we take all of this for granted. If we lost all of this right now, if we lost electricity, if we lost everything, would you be able to survive? I know that I would have a hard time surviving, especially with my little family. I have 4 children. I don't know how and if we would survive. And I've studied and I've done a lot of things. I even signed up for a class now, inspired by Survival Living. If you guys haven't seen his channel, but he's been taking classes because I know, as much of a prepper as I am, I know that when it comes down to it, not a lot of us are prepared. We're not as prepared as we think we are. And I know that because we used some of our preps and our prep food when we actually had just a normal storm power outage. It's like you don't realize how wonderful what we have is. That's why I say it is a half full glass, okay? We are very blessed to have no conflict right now. And it's not to scare people. It's to prepare people for a potential that is staring us in the eye and has stared at us for years. We knew this was coming. We saw all of the political plays being played. We saw in 2020 something happen that we never thought would happen right in front of our eyes. So blatant, like a third world country. If you know, you know. So, Dex, let's get our next caller on before we go on. And we're going to talk about USA's new hypersonic missile, unable to defend The Exceptional Nation. That's a piece by Michael Provicia. And again, our next caller on deck. Thank you, by the way, Mr. Reed. Appreciate you, and I hope you and your wife are doing well tonight. Let's see here.
And Adam, we have Les, aka Lone Star Pioneering, is live.
All right, you are live on Marfoogle News.
Hey, Adam, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, totally clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Hey, I have a bit of news and a bit of sad news. My nephew, who was a Marine Corps recruiter in the state of Michigan, has been deployed. And he couldn't give me a lot of details. He told me that their commanding officers told them to call their families and tell them their goodbyes because a lot of people would not be coming home. That tells me right there that we're fixing to be in some kind of conflict.
Can you repeat that?
Hello?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Okay, I'm sorry I'm talking so fast because I don't want to waste y'all's time.
No, I heard you.
I said my nephew, who is a Marine Corps recruiter, has been deployed. And when he called me, he said that their commanding officers told them to call their families and tell them their last goodbyes. And he called me. He called his mother as well to tell us, that this is probably not going to end well. So that tells me that something big is going on. And also, he said, look, this is something that one of the commanding officers had said to him. He said, before this is over with, he goes, Les, this sounds crazy, but he says that Russia and China will rule over America. He goes, I don't believe it. He goes, that's just what was said to me. And it's kind of nerve-wracking if you think about it, especially with all the stuff that's going on right now. I have not heard from him since he left. He called me last week. He did tell me that he would update me with videos and phone calls as often as he could so I could put it onto my YouTube channel for y'all to see what's going on. I don't know if I'll get booted off of YouTube again like I did before, but if y'all could, you please get your subscribers to give me a little love over there on the Lone Star Pioneering channel so I can keep them updated. We need prayers for him and the other soldiers that are headed out. And it just it makes me sick to my stomach just to sit here and talk to y'all about, our soldiers have to go out and do this. And there's some that are 18, 19 years old. They're still kids. And it's just very nerve-wracking for families right now that's having to go through this, because I'm sure that we're not the only ones that got the phone call. Probably thousands and thousands of other families are having to deal with this right now.
Well, so we did a video the other night, and I want to get something clear. So we did a video basically talking about how there was an obscure tweet that was by, not a famous person by far, of a woman saying that her brother was deployed, and says, oh, shoot, well, my brother was deployed. Yeah. And there were so many, it was just unbelievable amounts of people saying, oh, my nephew too, my brother, my husband is being deployed. And we talked about that, and we said the whole point is, which, by the way, I said we have formally announced that we had 8,500 plus another 3,500 shipping out all over Europe. So we, the USA, have deployed. Of course, Europe, UK has deployed to Europe, all over Europe. And people are still not even awake. Nobody's talking about this. We have physical U.S. soldiers going in to possibly fight with Russia. And yet nobody's talking about this. Well, we posted that, And then we asked, if people can, without giving out any specific information, just say, hey, do you know somebody who's being deployed? A lot of people said, oh, loose lips sink ships. I just want to point out, somebody commented very perfectly by my dad, that loose lips sink ships is actually a propaganda set way back then to stop factory workers in weapons shops from talking about any of the designs. First of all, in today's day and age, Russia and China know exactly where our deployments are going. They know exactly where everybody's going. The thing is there's no shroud over where these people are going. There's no secrecy of deployments. So if they're being deployed, yes, it's not good to say, hey, they're being deployed here, or a specific time and place if it's actually to a battle. But if it's like, hey, he's getting deployed to Europe, that's not going to sink any ships. They know it. In fact, somebody said, hey, the couple tweets don't equal 10,000 people. Good try. And again, the 10,000 is already what's official. We're saying if they're saying that only 10,000 are being deployed, how did some obscure tweet get hundreds of responses? Because not everybody's on Twitter. We have 3% of America on Twitter. And somehow that 3% that saw that tweet, which is even rarer, all had family members being deployed? I think not. I think there's way more than what they're saying. Do you agree, Lone Star?
Yes. There's way more than what's being said. I totally agree with you on that.
Well, Lone Star, we put your link on our website so we can send them over. Do you have anything else to say before you go?
That's it. As soon as he sends me any information like that, because we might be in combat right now and not even know it, because they don't tell us everything. They're constantly not telling us what we need, what we'd like to hear. And he's gonna, if something's going on, I will definitely let y'all know, and I will, keep everybody updated. And I need y'all's prayers, and I need as much love as y'all can send us.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
God bless each and every one of y'all. Tell your loved ones you love them, because you never know what tomorrow brings. I say that at the end of every one of my videos.
Well, you have a wonderful night. And Lone Star, I hope that a lot of people end up coming over there. You have a wonderful night. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. That was Lone Star of Pioneering. Remember, all of the links to everything that we show you here today, a bibliography with all of our sources, are over on marfooglenews.com. Before we go off into the next article, I do want to remind you, if you do want to protect yourself against an EMP or a CME, over the next couple of years, a lot of people are going to end up preparing themselves with a device like an EMP shield. EMP Shield is an actual company that not only has worked with agencies like DHS, DOD, but again, they're officially on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid as well. This company is not only working with different agencies like that, this device is tested by the military, Keystone tested. Again, it's 100% American made. It's veteran-owned business. They were called up during the T-Man administration when they put in executive orders to protect our grid. And they went in to help. They are actually in the DHS EMP resilience report. You can't get much more legit than this. So again, EMP Shield, on top of all of that, is the owners, the founders, everybody else. They're in our community, and they support. They actually personally support too. They've come in just as like Andrew, one of the founders, and one of their main people there. He ends up and supports. Outside of work. Like, he is an amazing person. They have helped people, and they have never even mentioned it. I mean, that's stuff that, normally companies like Comcast, they'll do something good for the community, but then they'll put it on a commercial for advertising. They have done stuff for the community that no one ever knows about. That's why I love this company. I fully 100% back it. I use it. Again, you can get devices for your car. That's one of the most popular, so you're not stranded. If you do have a major Carrington level event happen, your car will still run. This can basically ground the signal before it can fry whatever you are protecting. They make many different devices that can protect against all three phases of an EMP, E1, E2, and E3. And again, you can protect your solar system, your solar generator. They even make an energy solar generator that is partnered up with them. You can get solar protection, RV protection, home protection, again, even ham radio protection. So make sure to go check it out. If you have a boat that you're about to go off into the sunset in, you can protect that as well. That's, again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/EMP. That helps support the show, and you get $50 off per device on top of whatever sale they're running. That's always going to stack. We have been grandfathered in. We were one of the first. We were even with them before all of these crazy big orders from you-know-who. All right, Dex, let's talk about the supersonic, the hypersonic, the USA's new hypersonic missile.
So the first thing, as we read this, I want everybody to pay attention, especially in this title, but in the rest of it. This is coming from Russia. Okay, this is, again, another article from Pravda. So definitely directly from Russia, so their point of view. And this also piggybacks off of other news that was coming out where we're trying to announce that we need to spend more to defend against hypersonics. So, but obviously from their point of view, they're basically saying that the U.S. can't even defend itself against what Russia has to offer.
And so that would not obviously be a good thing. It says Navy Vice Admiral John Anthony Hill, director of the U.S. Missile Defense Agency, said that the Standard Missile-6 missile could intercept a hypersonic missile. American journalist Joseph Thrivithik quoted his opinion in the article. SM-6 missiles are America's only defense against hypersonic missiles. And it says that this is not the first time when John Hill, a specialist who, by the way, does not hold a profile diploma in the field of rocket and aircraft engineering, made such a statement. The U.S. officer may have our sympathies at this point. The agency that he currently chairs has been trying to implement the GPI, or Glide Phase Interceptor Program, to improve the U.S. missile defense system for 2 years already, although to no avail. So again, they have actually they've told us in public that we have had many failures as far as even our regular ICBM kind of systems that defend against this stuff. And it says, in the spring of 2019, the Vice Admiral announced that the Regional Glide Phase Weapon System could be integrated with the existing Universal Launcher Mk-41, which could be mounted both on warships and ground-based facilities. However, the RGPWS program was later curtailed and replaced with a new one, GPI, which is now in its infancy. However, given the modest funds that the U.S. Congress allocated for the implementation of the program, because, of course, they needed to allocate their own pockets first, I mean, right? Such results do not seem to be surprising. Thus, in 2020, the military requested only $116 million to create a new long-range modification of the SM Block IB. In general, this program will cost U.S. taxpayers almost $380 million. This is insignificant money for the creation of a fundamentally new type of weapon. For comparison, according to Boeing Corporation, the creation of a new type of passenger airliner costs from at least $1.5 to $2 billion. $1,000 million is in $1 billion. They're spending a third of that. They're spending 1/6 the cost to develop something that could save millions and millions of lives than they do for a regular plane that takes people from point A to point B. Priorities. Pretty crazy. And then Putin's super yacht abruptly left Germany amid sanction warnings should Russia invade Ukraine. Now, people are saying this is because of the possibilities of say them taking the yacht or sanctioning it so it couldn't go anywhere. This is Putin's baby, I'm guessing, because it's $100 million yacht. Okay, $100 million. It has swimming pools. This is essentially a cruise ship. Okay, it's a huge super yacht. This is something that, this is an unbelievable yacht, and I don't believe it's his only one either, which is crazy. Dex.
Well, and it's going to be. Think about this. It's also, he could be moving it to protect it, not just protect it from being seized, but protect it from being destroyed should he do something in Europe, right? And this ship is built by Germany. It was a German manufacturer that built it. And by the way, most of the shipbuilders are in France and not France, are in Germany and Italy and a couple other places, the major shipbuilders. So it's not like monster yachts come out of Russia. So if he wants to have this thing, he's got to move it or he'll never see it again, whether it gets seized or whether it gets destroyed in actions that he may take against those countries, right? Because it's not like he can replace it. It's irreplaceable. And I imagine once something does go down, nobody's going to want to be building a yacht for Putin, right?
And that's what really freaks me out about this. The fact that, so by the way, it's not like he pulled it out like, oh, they needed to fix a couple more light bulbs. They had actual modifications going on from this German company. They were adding another balcony, which is crazy, right? Oh my, I'm just adding another balcony. They were adding another balcony and they stopped that midway through. So this is not complete and they ripped it out of there. And they said that they abruptly sailed out and they have the things like halfway complete. The balcony is like half there. They ripped it out of there. It says a yacht named Graceful and said to belong to Russian President Vladimir Putin, left port in Hamburg abruptly before finishing repairs, according to reports from German media. It is unclear what prompted the move, but the $100 million yacht relocation from German waters to Kaliningrad, part of Russia's territory, comes amid fears that the West would impose sanctions if Russia were to invade Ukraine. Although Moscow has continuously denied any plans to invade its neighbor, it's gathered over 100,000 and now some say up to 300,000 troops at positions all around Ukraine and has even sent 6 assault ships into the Black Sea. Now, this is completely separate. If you add up everything that's been deployed, those 6 assault ships, then they deployed 140 ships. This is all on record. All of our U.S. ships left ports. We have webcams saying that all of our ships deployed, and now we're hearing about, thousands. How many people, just our comments on that last video, how many people know somebody who is deploying? All of that is going on. And then now we add in tonight that, of course, they are going to be doing these live fire drills right at the tail end of the Olympics, right at the tail end of the Chinese New Year. Right as Taiwan is buying $100 million for this, all of this stuff going on. They're laying mines. They're practicing, landing planes on their highways. All of this, Taiwan and China and Russia and Ukraine, all of this is going down. And now, of course, this happens. I'm sorry. How many? And then everything fell apart with Macron. Everything fell apart with that. And they just met. U.S. just met with the German chancellor. Something is in the works. What do you guys think, though? Am I crazy? Do you feel like I am wrong? Let me know. Again, I'm a human being, so I'm not here to scare people, but I am here to tell people my opinion on this and what I've seen by analyzing the news every single day for now 4 years. I've watched this, and I've been analyzing it for longer than that, but that's, I guess you could say, professionally, since I do this for a living. What do you guys think? Make sure to respect your mods. Again, I saw somebody say something not so nice. Remember, we appreciate everybody here, again, but make sure you don't talk down to anybody in the chat. We don't talk badly about any creator outside of our show, period. Just remember, there's simple rules, and if you do get muted, it's nothing personal. They'll just mute you, and then after 5 minutes, you come back in. Just pretend like it didn't happen. Nobody will even notice. And then thank you, mods. Make sure to put a mods in the chat and say something nice to one of our mods. Lisa Hall, J-Stone, Trinity, CJ Blaze, West Virginia. Again, thank you guys, everybody that's down there. What do you guys think about this? What do you think is really going on? Oddball, what's going on? Greg Davis, thank you. JPL 2027 Asteroid, it's all related. I want more information, by the way. If you want to put your theory together and email me at adam@marfooglenews.com, I would love to hear you, Greg Davis. I firmly think that there's some asteroid tie-in, and it would make sense biblically as well. Wormwood and comets and everything else. Thank you. Bear Lover 92,000 says mods are awesome. Crypto Craig, I love all mods here and on YouTube. Priscilla R, thank you. J-Stone, hey. And Rip Curl, we've got Rip Curl here. And we got Bones. Thanks at Jake from State Farm. LOL. Jake from State Farm. What a good dude. I want to buy that guy a pizza. And give him like a gallon of milk or something. WW3 incoming, says Michigan Poke. Man, hey, what's going on? Don't forget the space turd. Oumuamua, very freaky. Yes, I would say space cigar, but turd is okay too. I don't think, Marf. Turn your brain off and use your intuition. Grim, altruism. Sometimes that's right. Sometimes you got to. And again, I could be wrong. You know, everybody could be wrong. I just think there's too many things that are in the works right now. Thank you, El Luna 3377 for going above and beyond over on DLive. I appreciate you dropping in with a Ninja Guinea. Marv, so cool you are going to Survival Living class. Well, I'm not going to his class. Again, I was inspired by him. He has gone to he's becoming an actual professional survivalist because he's done multiple respectable classes. I am doing a first class. Yeah, my first, I think, well, I had some other stuff that you could consider that because I had some friends that were experts, but no, I am not by any means a professional survivalist, but I definitely would say that I'm professional, see it coming and dodge
If you
out
were
of
a
it.
little closer, I guarantee you Survival Living would take you out, though. He's been doing his own classes now, which is pretty cool.
Oh, no. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he started up. He's done 2 rounds now, or he's starting a second round. But yeah,
That is actually
he's
really
teaching.
cool.
It's really cool.
That is really cool. And that's probably because he has his certification now. Edwin, thank you for subscribing. Mysteries Mystery School, Mods Rock, Miss Knowledge All. I think the world needs to focus on real issues like homelessness, starvation, and pollution, etc. Red says, no, you're crazy, Marf. When you know, you know. Greg Davis, Google JPL 2027. It's all related. Warrior for Christ, on the verge of WW3, and Americans are worrying about which nouns to identify with. It's shaking my head. And then, let's see, Rochelle Schoening. So Miss Knowledge All says real issues like homelessness and starvation. Miss Knowledge All, I agree, because if this really does go down, and it is a real thing, it's not like WW2 didn't happen and WW1 didn't happen as well. Homelessness and starvation and pollution will be the top 3 things for the entire planet. So I agree. Again, I was homeless. My mother was homeless for years. I lived under a bridge when I was a kid. I lived under the Ballard Bridge at one point and stole fish for my mother when I was a small child. Didn't even know what I was doing so we could eat over a barrel. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But again, I think that I think I agree with you. At the same time, I think people do have to pay attention to this. In fact, no one is paying attention to this. I guess they don't have any public programs that teach people about the pending conflicts whereas they do for homelessness, starvation, and pollution. Arkansas's whoop ass, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate you guys. Warrior for Christ, again, thank you. FT was wrong. Kremlin shoots down alleged Putin-Macron deal on Ukraine de-escalation. Dex, do you want to go over this? And then after this article, we can line up our caller. And I'm gonna put myself on mute for a second.
Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, as we mentioned earlier, and this is sort of the article that dives deep into it. Macron went in and came out and said, "Hey, don't worry." He said he's not going to escalate. He being Putin, and that didn't sit really well with Russia. So they came out and immediately said, no, that there was no deal made with Macron, and whatever he's saying is just bupkis. So, so that's what, and I think that came out originally in FT or Financial Times. So this is a TASS article. This is coming from Russia's news agency, TASS, and they're basically saying. The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov on Tuesday refuted the Financial Times allegations about a supposed deal on de-escalating tensions around the Ukraine between President Vladimir Putin and the French counterpart Emmanuel Macron. So basically, Russia's saying, no, there's no deal. We didn't make a deal. We're not de-escalating, and we're still standing strong. So all hopes that France went in and saved the day are pretty much out the window. At this point. So it seems like we're still stuck in this mode of, are they going to attack or are they not? Are they going to move in or are they not? Are we going to back down and say that, the Ukraine can't join NATO or not? It sounds like we're not willing to do that. And it sounds like Russia's not willing to allow Ukraine to become a NATO member. So if things don't change, if somebody on either side doesn't change their position, then we're ultimately going to be in a conflict because that's, there is no other way out unless one side here decides to back off.
And we don't know how likely that will be. So we're going to talk about the iCountry unveiling a new missile said to put and U.S. regional bases within range. And then we'll talk about that and, of course, what the main piece is here tonight, the surrounding of Ukraine. Dex, let's get our next caller in. It looks like we have yet again another first-time caller. We have D-Lo, and looks like they captured a photo of something. So let's get him on. By the way, hey, just want to take a second and say thank you and thank you and bless all of you guys for being patient with me with my health issues. Sometimes I have to have him take over and step away for a minute. Sometimes I have to miss shows. There are nearly 4,000, 5,000 people every night, and you guys depend on and me a lot for the show to actually happen. So I just wanted to let you know there might be days I have to miss, but no, I try to make up for it one way or another. I try to do a video. I couldn't get it together to do an update on Russia, Ukraine last night, which I did say in my community tab. I apologize. So I just wanted to say I'm sorry, and I always try to make up for that. And thank you everybody for being patient. It's no excuse. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. And thank you everybody that has stuck with me for years, including some of our mods like Jaystone, who put her life into the Marfoogle Discord and everything else. We've had many bumps, and Lisa R. Hall, who's been here basically every single show. Just people that have put their life into this. Thank you. And just can't say enough. If you're new here and you don't realize, like, there are people that have met lifelong friends through this show, and it's not me. Again, it's Marfoogle. It was a goofy thing that started out as just a type something random in that has turned into a group of people that I would not trade for the world. So, thank you. All right, and then Dex, looks like we have D-Lo, and then D-Lo, once they can get popped in here. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. And then it's not where we came from. It's where we're going that counts. I love that. MW35. Digital mouse. Don't apologize. We love you. No need to be sorry, Adam. Oh, thank you guys. Well, you'd be surprised how mad people get. I can understand it when you have something, because if I don't go live, they also can't talk to their friends. People do depend on this. We've had messages that said people did not kill themselves because of this show, that it got them through hard times. When everybody was locked down, people were really dependent on the show. They said it was the thing that made up their day. And it wasn't me. It was the fact that they could talk to their friends on the show. And they met people they really, really liked. Most of us don't have people in our daily life, especially if it's like a work thing. There might be people sitting next to you at work that you could talk about to all this stuff, but you can't really put yourself out there because you might get fired. So it's like when you find like-minded people here that you can talk about anything, you can say, I believe in Loch Ness. And they're like, that's awesome, man. That's freedom of speech. Like, that's also freedom of expression. Here, I think that what we did really well is we encourage people to agree to disagree, but at the same time, try to push people up, even if they totally disagree with you or they believe something different. Because then we can all have fun anyways. What happens in a lot of places is people argue and scream like, you're stupid for thinking that. You believe in freedom of speech, but you don't want people to think that way. Dex, it looks like you gave me the
Adam.
The light flash. What's going on?
Yeah, we've got D'Lo online, and just make sure you get the video. I didn't see it in there a minute ago. I want to make sure you got the link. I put it back in.
No, I did not see it, but now I do. Okay.
Okay, and D'Lo's live.
So D'Lo, what are we looking at here? I'm gonna load this video here.
That's what I'm calling you for, Marv.
So what did you catch?
Okay, so I'm shooting a promo video out in East Texas for an arborist with my Mavic Air 2S, and I'm in post-production, and I happened to click on like what seems to be a set of maybe 15 frames. I'm shooting at 60 frames a second, and I talked to Dex and was like, please just like spare me the humiliation and tell me that this is something normal, and I just can't figure out what it is. So if you click on the video and kind of concentrate in the top left quadrant and play it through, you'll see what I'm talking about. And it looks kind of like a bird, but it's got to be the fastest bird ever to exist. Dex said it may be a bug that is closer to the camera, but I've just shot a lot of drone footage and never seen anything like this.
Oh, wow. So look at that. So
like it looks like a bird might be flapping its wings, but it doesn't start flapping its wings until it comes basically kind of face to face with my drone and kind of veers off.
So I'm starting it over again. So everybody can see, most of you can see my mouse. Just want to make sure that you're looking in the right, by the telephone pole, a little bit to the left, going from about where, right under the power box here, up to right about here. So
yeah, if you play it all the way through, I repeat it several times and chop it up, and I go from, like, in real time, you can't see it at all. At 50%, you barely see it for a second at 60 frames a second, and then I go to 25%, 5%, and then at the end I go to 1%, and then back to the real-time footage just to show. You can kind of gauge the time on the guy that's behind the tree that's cutting it down. You can kind of see him step out a little bit, and when it slows all the way down and it's jumping frames, you can see how slow he's moving too.
And this is at 60 frames per second, right? What was this?
Yeah.
Were you doing 4K?
YouTube only I exported at like 59.9, but yeah, I shot it in 60 FPS.
There's one shot where you would think, oh, that looks kind of like a fly, but there's no way. How would what you said this was a Mavic Pro or Mavic Pro 2?
And yeah, Air 2S. I mean, it's a great camera.
Yeah, I know, but I don't see how it would see a fly.
I didn't even think of fly until Dex said something.
Well, no, just knowing even if it was close, I have the Mavic Pro 2, which is I would think would be about equivalent. I know the Air S came out after, but it's using a similar. I might even have a smaller sensor.
Very similar camera.
Yeah. So, but I don't think you would even be able to catch a fly like that.
And I mean, when I originally, I didn't catch it until a few days later, when I was editing it, and I just happened to stop on one of those frames. Like, there's not many frames that it's even in there, and I saw this black dot just kind of pop up on my big monitor screen, and was like, "What is that?" And then started clicking back, at the arrows in Premiere, and just saw how quickly it comes in and out, and it looks like it comes from really far. And it looks like it comes straight up and then catches my drone, and then it kind of veers off. Like, I don't want to sound crazy. I'm the first person to call myself crazy, but it looks like it kind of shapeshifts into a bird and it takes off in another direction.
Well, here's the cool part. We can give everyone the option to go view this themselves. Everyone, this is going to be on marfooglenews.com, and you can go and see D-Lo's video for yourself. I highly recommend, since he's a Foogle fan member, go over there and subscribe. His name is over there on D-Lo Good Quest. Again, you can go over and check it out. It says it's called the World's Fastest Bird or Shapeshifter UAP. Well, D-Lo, thank you for calling me with this. Again, I would want more people to come with, to me with these videos. If you have videos like this, send them to me. That's why, Dex, of course, talks about it. We have marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo. If you have a UAP, a UFO, or if you have some crazy train crossing video, it doesn't matter. Send it here. D-Lo, thank you for calling in tonight, and I appreciate you bringing this to us.
Hey, thanks, Marv. Thanks, Dex. God bless.
God bless you as well. That's D-Lo Good Quest, which is a cool name, by the way. Coolest name ever. Arkansas Whoop-Ass, thank you so much for subscribing. Everyone that popped in over on D-Live, thank you to the D-Live crew. Looks like we have LL Luna, Kishara, Badger 1, thank you. Thank you, Mods. Thank you, Gem. Thank you, Chance Paladin. Thank you, Jammer 1. Thank you for being patient, Jammer, when we're not doing shows too. I know that you have a lot of friends here as well. Deep Fried Sports, thank you. Rizar, Tree Hookers, JM by B53. Thank you. Captain Pat, Skyhouse, and Life is Better on Stilts. All regulars. Thank you, everybody. All right, and then Dex, let's talk about the iCountry, and then I'll be going into, of course, these drills.
Well, yeah. So, we've talked about how the third location is going to be in the ME, and it's going to be between the two, the iCountry, as we refer to it, like ran to the store, and the IS, and that they, have been going back and forth, for the longest time. IS doesn't want them to have, nuclear powers. We've done things to prevent them. We've put sanctions on them. They've, sabotaged things or allegedly sabotaged things like that. And then, interestingly enough, is we just lifted all the sanctions. I don't know why we would do that, but apparently our leadership thinks that that's the right thing to do as far as negotiations go. But now the iCountry has come out unveiling new technology that can actually reach all the way across to where the country is. And that's a big deal because they haven't had that type of technology. They haven't been able to make it that far. And this is one of the first steps for them, I guess, before they get completely nuclear, to be able to put and transport a nuclear type device that distance as well.
Now, remember, they are teamed up. They're also friends. It would be I versus is, right? These two countries. That's one of the three main huge superpowers that could go off, right? Russia, Ukraine, I, and then, of course, China and Taiwan. Those are some of the three big hot points, right? So why did our president essentially lift sanctions that would kickstart them making this stuff again? It almost seems like someone is on a payroll. Just my opinion. If you have an opinion that differs, let me know in the comments down below. Why would you think that they did this? Do you think that they're gonna take this and go, oh, well, they're being nice. Now I feel bad about the whole, like, I want to take your head off thing. I don't know. It seems really strange. Really, really, really strange. And then, of course, main story, it looks like Russia wants to all but wall off Ukraine's coastlines next week. So this map is very telling. This is again what we wanted to show you here. So let me make sure that we have this full screen. So this is what I was talking about in the video. Make sure to go right after this. Make sure to go over to Marfoogle News. I have a shorter video that goes over the yacht story, and then we talk about, of course, these drills that very well could turn into the real event. It lines up with February 14th through the 17th. This literally lines up with when Intel said that they were going to invade. You've got the troops, you've got the mobile hospitals, you've got the blood. They've literally ordered the blood units to go to conflict, to go to war. That was one of the key indicators when they saw that they had blood supplies shipped to the front lines. Blood only lasts for so long. You can't just take, millions and millions of units of blood and just ship it out, right? Or at least just let it sit there. So it has to be timed. That was ordered. All the supplies went. Now they have, on top of their land, air, and sea, is all going to be drilling live fire drills, and this is where. I mean, look at that. This puts together where they're publicly saying, hey, watch out, we're going to be here. Don't get in our way. So I don't know if people can figure this out, but that looks a whole lot like an invasion. And by the way, there's other points where their troops are. I mean, they have them surrounded. Or at least if they don't now, they will. At the same time, all the stuff with Putin's yacht and, of course, lining up all of these meetings. For the last 2 months, Russia has been meeting with world leaders all over the place. JB has met with world leaders. China, Xi Jinping, has been meeting with world leaders. Everything is going on right now. Countries that are not in NATO are shipping around their soldiers. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, this looks pretty kind of, self-explanatory, right?
Yeah, as soon as I saw the visual, it's like, okay, this is a no-brainer. Like, if they're going to time 3 drills all at the same time in the same week, and it's covering this, these major entry and exit points via water around the country, it's kind of a big deal, right? And even if it is just a drill, then it's a drill for what they will be doing when they need to do it, which could happen the day after the drill, for all we know, right? So this is a no-brainer, as you say,
like a dress rehearsal, right? And by the way, this is where the main cut-throughs, the bottlenecks are, the waterways, the connections. They're going to be there. They could possibly block off and choke all of those areas out. We may be there, and this isn't to scare people. People should be following along. You are following along. Everybody at home is following along, so this is no surprise to you. What's even crazier is even the skeptics that are watching right now, you're at least following along. Like, I give you credit. You are watching me and at least hearing what I'm saying, because most people you work with are not. Nobody is talking about this. How? I mean, and people go, well, I hear lots of people talking about Russia, Ukraine. People don't realize how serious this has gotten. There are a lot of people that don't have any idea. I cannot fathom how people are on the opposite end of the spectrum. Maybe I pay too close of attention. Well, it's my job to kind of do this and pass it off to the people that do want to know, right? But the people that are on the opposite end of the spectrum that are paying attention to Kim and Kanye and not paying attention to anything with Putin and JB, I don't understand it. There are people that do not know that China and Taiwan are even in a struggle whatsoever. There are people that don't know any of this. There are people that have not followed a single news story for a long time. Maybe they'll say, oh, I don't watch TV or I don't watch this. I understand that. But you should at least have a family member or somebody that's letting you know what's going on in the world. Because if you're not, how are you not paying attention to world geopolitics? If you're completely in your own little hole, then I guess I will say this. Maybe that is the way you choose to live your life, and that's great. But we don't. That's why I say, if you want to keep yourself in a bubble or even live in the woods and not know any of this, that's fine too. But for those people what I don't get is people that say I shouldn't say the things I say, or the people that say that I shouldn't be doing this. I think there's a lot of people, obviously that number right here, that says there's at least that many that do care. There's been 60 to 100,000 people every day that care about this. So there is an audience that wants to know. Make sure to share it with people. Make sure to share this channel with people that you talk to about this subject and they are engaged in it. Because I guarantee you they could gain something from this show. If you talk about this with somebody, that's the point where you should think, oh, maybe I should suggest this show. I appreciate each and every one of you that share. Do you know that the nightly number and our sub count is almost all from you sharing and bringing one person in at a time? That is amazing. We know from our data. It's not very early on. The first 30,000 was when we were getting recommendations and stuff, but a lot of it is from you guys bringing in external sources, sharing it on Facebook, sharing it everywhere else. So God bless you guys. It's up to you. You guys are you are an army. 210,000 on the other channel, 170,000 here. You are absolutely stupendous. Dex, first of all, there's just so much that is happening all at once. It's insane. Can you talk about marfooglenews.com prep, and then of course what's going on otherwise?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you guys, we all talk about prep, and we know how the importance of being prepared. And some of the most important essentials of life, if you want to call them that, are like food and water and air, right? You need those. So with the partnership we've created with My Patriot Supply, you guys can get a discount. You can help the channel and you can help yourself. Just go simply to marfooglenews.com/prep, and you can get access to long-term storage food, 25-year shelf life, stuff that tastes really good and is easy to prepare and easy to store. And they've got a special right now. I want to say $150 off for a 3-month supply, $50 off for a 4-week supply, a 1-month supply, and other specials that are constantly going on. They even have daily deals on their website. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/prep. There's other things like water filtration, which everyone needs. I highly recommend it. I actually have the Alexa Pure, both the air filter and the water filtration. They both work really well. And I use them all the time. There's other things there. Anything you need from prep supplies, go check them out. One-stop shopping, so to speak, marfooglenews.com/prep. It helps you. It helps us. Win-win for everyone.
Thank you, Dex. And again, it supports my family and it supports Dex's family and hopefully at some point a future family as well. So thank you, everybody that has fought to keep us up here. Thank you, everybody that has fought to keep these numbers up. Thank you for everybody that shares us out. Dex, let's talk about the other stuff.
Yeah, so let's go over to marfooglenews.com and click on the thumbnail for today's show. Scroll down to that web-only content and get the rest of the story. Supposedly, this big thing may be coming to an end soon, according to everyone's favorite doctor. Well, at least the full-blown portion of it, as he's being quoted. We'll find out more. We'll see what really happens. A lot of politicians, I should say, are asking for some more testing of our current administration. You can learn more about that. Plenty of other things happening in some of the investigations, I guess, that have been going on with Durham and others. So get some updates there. Lots of stuff here that's just too hot for TV, too far to one side. We can't always cover it, or just didn't make the cut. But it's like an entire show's worth of content. So if you haven't gone to our website and look at everything else that we put together for you, you really need to do it. And it's so simple. If you're on YouTube, just open the description, click that first link that says show notes, and that'll take you right to this page, and just scroll down until you find web-only content, and you will find the rest of the story. Again, marfooglenews.com.
I think one of the scariest videos here, I pulled up here. We're not going to play because it has copyright. It says, quote, "We are at end days here." And this is the former executive of BlackRock. If you know who BlackRock is, this will scare the crap out of you. Okay, think about that.
And he's talking financial days. But
oh,
yes.
yeah.
But
I know.
It's the same thing. If the whole thing collapses, it's worldwide mess.
BlackRock controls more money than all of the countries other than China and USA combined. So Russia, Japan, blah, blah, blah. Every world country, all combined, BlackRock controls. In fact, so just assume BlackRock was a country and the GDPs of the world. There'd be USA and China, and then BlackRock would be number 3. Number 4 would, I believe, is Russia, and then all of them combined, Japan, Australia, UK, New Zealand, all of the countries of the world combined do not equal what BlackRock controls as far as their money compared to GDPs of the world, right? They also own a percentage of all of the companies, every one of them that's been involved in this whole thing. They own parts of everything. If you have a retirement fund, they most likely are in somewhat control of it. Almost all of us have given in to this monster. I worked at my last job, and I remember I was putting money towards something controlled by them. So, again, that is freaky. Along with, people like, who we haven't heard of much at all? Twitter. Jack Dorsey. Haven't heard much news. A week before he stepped down from Twitter, which again, he owns other stuff. So he stepped down from Twitter. He said, hyperinflation is coming soon. ... Soon. So hyperinflation's not good. The mother of all supply chain stops is not good. WW3's not good. This whole thing is not good. But we can stick together. You and me, Dex, and the rest of the crew. Dex, love you.
Much love, brother. Great show.
How much time do we have left on the prompter here?
There's about 10 minutes, but we usually flip about 5 minutes in when we don't have enough.
No
we
worries.
have plenty of time. So, yeah. So, guys, if you don't have Marfoogle Jams, just type it in, Marfoogle Jams, or watch for my comment. I put a link to it every time. So it'll take you for the rest of the shoutro and everything else when the show cuts off on the main channel.
And sometimes the reason to subscribe to this is when the show runs along 2 hours, it will automatically, when you go over here, you might miss the last story or the last caller. Go over there. It's all there. Marfoogle Jams. We're closing in on 5,000 subscribers. So thank you, and God bless you for going over and subscribing. That is Marfoogle Jams. Same spelling with jams at the end. That's where the music goes. By the way, I originally started doing the shoutro, one, just to say thank you to you guys. You are the reason why we do this. And people thought it was silly. I do simple loops, and I make them from scratch on the spot, usually. And I don't claim to be a musician. In fact, this was all for fun and to avoid copyrights. So again, that if you're new here, that's what this is. But it's also, I try for the people that support us or the top donators for the show, I usually make a song for them. So it's incentive, I guess, for you guys to support and incentive for me to be creative. So thank you, everybody. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Have a good night.
Bum. 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 So back broken and I roll up my sleeves. So hey, like Christopher Reeves. So back broken and I roll up my sleeves. So hey, like Christopher Reeves. So back broken and I roll up my sleeves. So hey, like Christopher Reeves. So back broken and I roll up my sleeves. Hey, like Christopher Reeves. So back broken and I roll up my sleeves. So hey, like Christopher Reeves. Only news that I choose. Back, Marfoogle knows. Only news that I choose. Back, Marfoogle knows. Only news that I choose. Back, Marfoogle knows.
Got the Melissa Ginta on the Pinta. Oh, now everybody gonna get in. Bring it right in. Got the Arkansas eyes on that Edwin. Mystery school in the Edwin. Hey, Mrs. Knowledge, all in the red pill. Hey, Greg Davis and everybody hit hell. Hey, warrior for Christ and Greg Davis. Everybody getting real close, saved it. Oh my God, the dudes now shows it. Hey, now it's the one and only chosen. Kelly McKinney and the Allen. Trudy Sensen and that Colin. Yeah, we gotta all answer ourselves. That higher calling. Hey, everybody appalling. Everybody really going and stalling. Nobody wanna come in this ballin'. So let's fight back. Hey, let's fight back. Hey, James Fox and Stephen McMahon. Bring it right back, doing what I can. Don Bali and the Island. Doing everything that we can.
Only news that I choose. Back, Marfoogle knows. 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 Only news that I choose. Back, Marfoogle knows.
Got the Gum Girl 777. Gum Girl. I said Gum Girl. 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 Gum Girl 777 on that dog. Hey, Gone Girl, thank you so much. I am glad you're alive. We shout you out whether you're here or not. Gone Girl 777, thank you so much. I would not miss this show. Go back earlier. Make sure to go watch the previous part. Well, be careful with that. Make sure not to stress out too much. Love ya. Love is the key. Love all you Dex mods. Much love. Gone Girl 777. 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 I got the major on the Gen X though. Bring it right back with the Charlie Apple Bombay. Kathleen Owens and Noah Shios of Frozen, they have stolen inheritance of the American Indians. Indians. Got the London UK girl, that's loving the song. Bring it right back and oh, you're wrong. Major with that Mr. Bones, baby. I got the
whitetail 7 in the Miss Cheyenne. Everybody gonna get that cayenne. Everyone wants that spices. Got the bull in the cokes and the April Rose. Everybody did exactly what they chose. Gang tourism and a white boy 67. Oh man, baby, I'm in 1187. On a mother Think now gon' go 777. Dex J and going to heaven. Are you going to heaven? 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 I bet that's work. We'll walk with the Kevin 3653 Hookers. Now back with the Wendy B. M with the XSC. I'm the Kathleen B. Missing the Brett with 2 T's. Hey, now Poco Loco. Poco Loco, island by the sea. Poco Loco, island by the sea. I got the boot as a buck in the island by the sea. Christine K and the Conquer with a G. Home now down with the law of talk. Saw on the beam night and missed this beat. I got the one C Gonzalez and that floor. Block now Kevin 365 floor. Bob on the max with the lady on twin. Now bring it back down and everybody get in now. Got my butt on the top with the monster day. I'm on the back on the beam not day. Hello one day.